Hi, this is Coach MJ back on another episode of the Real Mission Impossible Show. Today we have an impossible guest. That's right. His name is John Mocadlo. He's the CEO and founder of Impossible Kicks. They're the largest retail bricks and mortar store that resells sneakers. And if you ever thought that there's a big business there, you're going to find out all about it. Let's bring in John Mocadlo. John, thanks for coming.
Hey, how's it going, MJ? How things?
So good. We're delighted to get into this today. And, I know some of the incredible milestones that you've achieved in your business, and kudos to you and your team. But, on this show, we like to get down into the nitty gritty. Like, where did this come from? Of
course.
Some of the beginning days, and kind of give us a storyline. Normally when I created a business, it was started on a napkin. How did you get yours started?
Well, it's actually a really crazy story, especially when we pitched this to the private equity fund that, actually ended up, funding us. It actually wasn't my idea at all. My brother actually was in process of starting the company. So my brother is 18 years younger than me. He's actually my half brother. And I was in the automotive industry for 23 years. And so my brother came to me and goes, hey, I want to open this sneaker store in a mall. It's like the new popular trendy thing. I know a lot about sneakers, but I don't know about business. So I said to myself, I don't know anything about sneakers at all, but I know a lot about business. And so obviously then we started to put the whole business together. So that's pretty much how it started. And because I knew nothing about sneakers, I didn't sell my first pair of sneakers until the first day we actually opened up. And so it was me taking guidance from, their seven, brothers and sisters collectively. And so from my youngest brother. So that's kind of how we put it all into motion.
Right. And here you are helping baby brother, if you will, to get his little idea off the ground. Did you expect for it to take off this much and this big?
No, after a couple of weeks of being open, I applied my marketing and sales ability to the business. And that's what really propelled it to the next level. He knew a lot about sneakers and the culture. And I said, hey, listen, we're going to run this kind of like a car dealership, advertising, bring people in, feature and benefit and sell them the product. But we figured it would be a small 1 or 2 location concept. Never did we imagine it would turn into, the platform it is now.
Right. And can I just ask you, John, just between you and I, I know you love your brother and, you do anything for him and to listen to his idea. But when he started talking to you about now, John, I'm going to sell these used tennis shoes. What went through your mind? I mean, that's not a culture that you're accustomed to.
Well, we started selling new and pre-owned shoes. And now we just sell new, essentially new shoes that are obviously, kind of procured and resold in the secondary market. But I go, people really wear this stuff? I was kind of perplexed that people would want to go out and spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on a pair of sneakers that have been worn before. It was always kind of in my personal stigma. I said, hey, you get a new pair of shoes, you put them on and they're yours. I could never come up, wrap my head around the concept of somebody wanting to wear a pair of sneakers.
Yeah, exactly. So then where was the pivoting point?
So the pivoting point is almost immediately an angel investor came in and saw the scale of what we were doing. And my brother started the company with very, very little cash. Unfortunately, I was in the auto industry for 23 years. I had an extremely decorated career. And I had left the auto industry due to a bad deal, unfortunately. And so I was doing pretty much nothing. So my brother had very little cash, a bedroom full of sneakers. And we opened up this 1,300 square foot store. Now, keep in mind, that's half the size of our normal store now. And I walked in there, I said, Wayne, I don't know how we're going to fill this up with sneakers. Now I think it's so funny. Now our average store is twice the size. And an angel investor came along and, advanced us, over $1 million, pretty much within the first 45 days of us opening. And it really let us explode. And we really got some financial guidance and he actually worked with my strengths and he picked up the weaknesses, and my brother was the expert. So we really just, hit the ground running, and, we haven't stopped. I mean, our first 19 months open, we opened up 17 stores, which was kind of crazy.
Right. And then of course, when you sit down again, let's go back to that bedroom.
Sure.
That's where I want to be. We're in a bedroom with Wayne saying,
yep.
"Oh, you got all these sneakers all over your floor here, and they're stacked up the wall. What are we going to do with all these?" I mean, and then to take that idea, open up a store, roll all the dice, and then have this third party, who you referred to as an angel investor, come in and help you sit down and craft a vision plan of scale way beyond what your expectations had originally been. Correct?
Correct.
And were you sitting there kind of pinching yourself going, this might happen?
There was a lot of like, oh crap moments, so we had opened up the first two stores. We had the one in Connecticut and the one in New Jersey. And then once we came up with this crazy idea that, hey, we're going to really go big time, we're going to open in Orlando, because Orlando is such a big tourist market, and we now have 3 brick and mortar stores in Orlando. So with this investor, we're like, listen, we're going to go down, we're going to open in Orlando, it's going to be great. And that was the moment where I felt like, wow, I had a professional career in auto where I started from nothing and worked my way up to the top. And here I am, living out of a U-Haul truck because we had no infrastructure in Orlando. So we literally loaded up this U-Haul truck full of sneakers, and we drove it down to Florida.
There we go.
Yeah. My brother had
That's
signed
what
a
we
lease.
want to hear.
And I actually drove down with my best friend from middle school. And I'll never forget, like, wow, I was, I had a career where I was living the life of luxury, and I'm like literally like curled up in a U-Haul truck. And then we're loading all of these fixtures into, the store, and you're not sure how it's going to make out, because in Connecticut, everybody knew who I was because I was on TV, I was on radio for, 16 years. And, you go into another market where nobody knows you, that it's really hard to put some accelerant on the fire to try to see if you can even go. And so you're kind of just banging 2 rocks together to get a spark, and hopefully it turns into, a roaring blaze in a short amount of time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. So you're curled up in the back of a U-Haul. That's just absolutely amazing. And everything at that point was, I hope this works, right?
Yeah, so we applied the same principle, marketed, advertised. It was July of 2021, so COVID was just starting to loosen up. Some travelers were just starting to come back to Orlando. Even in like the Disney parks, you still had to wear a mask at that point. So we advertised, and literally we showed up an hour early. And when we showed up an hour early in Connecticut, we already had like a 2-hour wait. So I showed up in Orlando and there was nobody there. I said, oh my gosh, I'm like, this dream is over. And sure enough, about 30 minutes before we opened, it ended up, going to be almost an hour-long line. All these people just showed up out of nowhere, and we were like, "Wow, I think we got this." And we had, for what it was, a record-breaking day that day. And our investor said, "Hey, you want to know? We really have something. Let's really push this and accelerate." And so it went from living in a U-Haul truck in Orlando. Then we literally got in a U-Haul truck and lived in it outside of a mall in Palm Beach. So,
were you still living in the U-Haul, or did your investor get you a hotel?
We stayed in a hotel some of the time.
No showers, huh? Go figure.
Listen, it was great. It was great to, it was very, it was a lot of culture shock, wearing a nice suit every day, going in where you had an assistant that brought you breakfast and brought you coffee, and now you're not showering for 3 days to kind of put a concept together. And I have to say, a lot of people kind of like work in a career and they work their way up and they hit what they feel is like the pinnacle of their career. And then you kind of get stuck. You really are at that point where you've climbed the mountain, you're at the top of Everest, and now you're just collecting things. There's no more climbing. So I have to say 2021 was probably one of my most favorite years I can ever recall, because it was just a lot of excitement and a lot of adventure. But, we started working with the Forbes family for that fourth store. And, Andrew and Nate Forbes have done tremendous things for the company. But they weren't big fans in the very beginning. So it was kind of like a hazing. It was like everything was wrong with the build outs, because a lot of people don't understand that sneaker reselling on a brick and mortar basis is a relatively new concept. There are stores that have done it for several years, but the majority of these concepts are no more than 2 to 3 years old. So when all these malls are starting to get used to, like, okay, what does a resale store look like? Like, when you're going to open up a Louis Vuitton or an Athleta or Fabletics or whatever, they know what it's going to look like, but they don't know what a sneaker resale store is going to look like. Is it going to look like a Foot Locker? Is it going to look like a Shoe Palace? They don't know. So it was all kind of like, uncharted territory for us and the developers.
So what else? What other hazing were you getting from these early adopters?
Well, a good story I have was we were in Palm Beach Gardens, and it was 2 nights before opening, and there was a green soffit for where we were moving into, and it had to be painted our red. Like, we obviously have our color Pantones, and it was being painted by a professional painter. And security comes through at 1 o'clock in the morning, because keep in mind, we're working around the clock, and goes, "That's not electrostatic paint. That's not what Gucci used. That doesn't meet our criteria. You got to get out." So, like, all of security, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 days before we opened, threw us all out because we didn't use the right paint, which we weren't instructed to use the right paint. And I literally got up early in the morning and brought coffee and donuts and talked to the facilities director and was like, "Listen, we're here from another state. We're opening this up. We're a small concept." So the facilities director let us complete it. But, I'll never forget, I had moved a lot of these young professionals from different markets to come work for me. Because keep in mind, I had no way of recruiting staff and management where we were going. So I just loaded up people from, Connecticut, New York that I knew, and we all drove down to staff these stores. So the other crazy thing is, not only am I living out of a car or a cheap hotel, I have all these young guys that are living out of their car or a hotel as well. And I didn't even know if we were going to open. So it was kind of like a hold your breath, hopes and dreams that everything worked out, and it did. So,
well, that's awesome, man. You know what? Those guys who believed in you from the beginning were probably very, very lucky now, because they got a bigger piece of whatever the big pie was. So kudos to all of you. Yeah. It takes heart, it takes courage. It's not simple. And coming up with a concept is one thing. There's lots of concepts, John.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people with money, and sometimes concepts and money don't always marry. And even when they do, they don't always have a driver like you who can see that opportunity and how to leverage that and make the impossible happen in a good way.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. They feel that, hey, they're going to get some funding. They're going to be in charge of a company. And it's going to get easy. The first 2 years are completely brutal. It's a lot of self-sacrifice, and that's a lot of problems. So either it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So people are either start a business undercapitalized, very motivated, and they hit a wall very short on. And a lot of times people have been too successful in what they currently do to really give up what they have for what they could become. And that is the most difficult thing with an entrepreneur. And that's why you see a lot of these young entrepreneurs, because what do they have to lose? They don't have kids. They don't have a house. They don't have a family they have to support. They don't have an image yet. So, these 21 or 22-year-old kids, you see them taking these long shots. And listen, you see some success, but you don't see the thousands of people that do fail in the interim as well.
Yeah. I just love that quote. You just issued something to the effect of, you have to be ready to give up what you have in order to become what you can be. That's awesome.
No, and it's a true thing, because, a lot of people get very complacent and they say, hey, this is going to be my life. And then naturally, everybody in this culture is very depressed or on antidepressants or in therapy, because they have all these aspirations and hopes and dreams that they want to become something that they're not, but they just cannot give up what they have. They're too nervous for what they possibly could become. And that's why I think we're so enamored in this culture by success stories, because they're like, wow, what you did, I really deep down inside want to do, but I just didn't have the guts to go do it.
Well, isn't that normally about 95%? Really.
Maybe even higher.
If you don't have the courage, you don't have the guts, you can have talent. There's a lot of people out there with talent, John. And again, I'm going to reiterate, you can have money, but money and talent don't automatically do it. You have to be ready to fight the fight with a plan and be ready to give up what you have in order to become who you can be. That's awesome and true.
100%.
So tell me now, where are we at? So Impossible Kicks is growing.
Yeah.
Did you guys go out and buy a yacht and you're getting ready to go out and kick back, smoke cigars?
No, we're still considerably far away from that. We're a very humble company. We encourage a lot of our officers and our shareholders to be extremely humble. We have on the board, we have a lot of high net worth individuals, and everybody's extremely, extremely humble. It's been, for a lot of people, we do compensate our employees extremely well, but we want everybody to be completely humble and level-headed, because the problem is I equate it to anybody that's, older than 35 years old remembers Mike Tyson. He was in the basement, training, getting ready, champion of the world, and all of a sudden money got to his head, and it kind of pollutes what you're trying to do. It just kind of distracts you and takes you off the mark. So, we don't indulge like that. We haven't compensated people to that effect where they can really enjoy themselves that way. We really see another 12 to 18 months worth of growth and really building up the balance sheet so that we can endure any kind of climate. There were some extremely green pastures in the financial markets the last couple of years, and we just want to make sure that we can weather any storm so that the company can be around for dozens of years as opposed to dozens of months.
Yeah. So tell us, what are the hard questions that investors will ask you today about your business? Will they be asking, like, will this concept weather inflation? You just brought it up yourself.
Obviously it weathers inflation well, and it obviously also weathers the times extremely well. The product itself as a whole ages extremely well. So, we're older than, probably some of these listeners. The most popular sneaker we sell came out in 1985. And that's a lot of investors do it, because a lot of investors are anywhere between 50 to 70 years old that have come into this deal. And a lot of people say, well, what if it goes out of style? And I go, the first Jordan came out in 1985 and it was sold out. So now we're talking 38 years later, and it's still extremely popular, if not more popular than it was when it came out 38 years ago. Now, please, as an investor and somebody extremely sophisticated in investing, tell me what product is still in style 38 years later.
Yeah. And I had a little chuckle. I was kind of imagining in a fictitious world where you're sitting on a bench with Andy of Mayberry and Barney and a couple of these other guys. Say, yeah, we're going to go out to the big city and sell used shoes and make a killing.
Yeah. Who knew? But the problem is it's so adapted by culture, and Nike, Adidas, and Jordan Brand have such a portfolio of shoes that are so timeless. And with the colorways, there's always demand for that shoe and that style. And the interesting thing is, what people don't understand is a sneaker that was released 5 years ago. Let's say, red, white, and blue was extremely popular, and they came out with the sneaker 5 years ago. People are going, I really want another red, white, and blue. So Nike will say, we're retroing the shoe. We're coming up with the same one that was made 5 years ago. And people go, oh my God, love the style, love the nostalgia. They line up around the block to buy it. So Nike gets to kind of, recycle and regurgitate a lot of these styles and colorways that were extremely popular years ago, because it's that feeling of nostalgia, of enjoying it. And wearing a Jordan is kind of, the saying is, the memories you got are better than the ones you're going to make. And that's not necessarily true with Jordan or Nike product, because the product does nothing but it's the same style, but it gets better. So you make better memories with the identical product, which is not necessarily the same. We can all remember as kids in high school what our dream car was. And now we get in it, we said, wow, this thing's like a rattle trap. I'd just rather drive like a Honda, And so everybody's reliving these really good memories again with the product.
Right. Tell me, do things like music drive parts of the culture of these shoes? I mean, I'm asking for a friend.
Most certainly. I mean, Travis Scott has done tremendous things with the Nike and Jordan brand. It's just completely phenomenal. He's done so much. I mean, it really kind of made Jordan and Nike extremely chic again. It was always popular before that, but it just really made it explode. So a lot of people who are, sports icons, music icons, influencers that are wearing this product, it becomes an in thing to wear. Back in the day, we used to have to read, Vogue magazine or, something to see somebody wearing some kind of fashion trend. And now somebody just has to post something on Instagram and, that's the new popular in thing. So that's what people are wearing.
Yes, yes. And do you have any foresight into, or can you tell us a little bit about maybe any brand ambassadors that you're considering enlisting for your company?
Yeah, I mean, so we're very lucky. I've been very instrumental, and I've worked extremely hard reaching out to a lot of influencers that we've sent product to. And, we've had influencers that have done stuff for us, like Jen Selter, who has 15 million followers, Chris Bumstead, who has 15 million followers. We do a lot of stuff in the fitness and bodybuilding industry. We've done Steven Scherer, who has 16 million subscribers on YouTube. We've sold shoes to Dana White. We sold shoes to Little Dirk. So from everybody from movie stars and, culture icons all the way to, local influencers that have, 5,000, 10,000 followers. We've really kind of bridged that whole gap and spectrum of influencers and athletes and musicians. So it's been great.
Wow, that's just unbelievable. Impossible Kicks is the name of your company, and you have taken it from zero to hero, continuing to climb. I want to thank you for sharing these golden nuggets with us and being on the show today. And I hope we can call you back to tell us a little bit more about the next chapters that you have in mind of your incredible story. Thank you for being impossible for all of us and letting us know that whatever you do put into your mind, with enough heart, with enough courage, you can make it happen. You can make it possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. MJ, thank you for everything. Anything you need, you can call me anytime. Love to come on.